The new Tier 9 Cobra is now available in World of Tanks Blitz. How is it sold? Is it worth it? Is it even a good tank? And what else is in the shop? What is worth buying? That's what we're going to find out in today's shop review. The tank section this week, we have only two really interesting new bundles. One of them is the Iron Companions with the M4A1 and the M4FL10. Now, they're also sold separately, but given the prices of those, you should only really ever consider this together because essentially you're getting the M4 for 7.5k and then you're getting the M4FL10 for free on top. These ×5s are unfortunately locked to the vehicle, which is very sad. And now, the M4A1, it is a Sherman hull with a French gun that puts out 2,500 DPM and 350 alpha damage, but it's a tier 5 hull at tier 8, so obviously it has no armor whatsoever. It does at least have 10 degrees of gun depression though, so basically, if you are an advanced player looking for crits and also looking for a challenge at the same time, something similar to the Lance C, this can be a great pickup, but to everyone else, to your average player, definitely don't recommend something like this. Now, the Badger as well, it is the better of the two tier 10 collector tank destroyers. 3,800 DPM, 460 alpha damage, 10 degrees of gun depression, and mobility that's it's not great, but it's just about good enough. Now, obviously, it doesn't have a turret, which is a major downside, but the frontal armor is quite insane and kind of impenetrable, so you can go sort of face down, because you can't go hull down because it doesn't have a turret, but lower plate is a weak spot, the upper plate isn't at all. It is a good vehicle for a tank destroyer, so if you are already playing something like a T123 or maybe even an Object 268, this can be a good thing to pick up if you already played those kind of vehicles. If you haven't, stay away from it, there's no point. If you don't enjoy the E3, you want to enjoy this thing. The B2, it's a seal clubbing masterclass of a vehicle that is essentially unparalleled in its stupidity. It's quite long, and it's not really that... That doesn't make any sense, so just stay away from it. It is a seal clubbing vehicle. It isn't necessarily OP or anything like that, but what is OP is unlocked ×5 XP, so there's 5 of them in there. If you do want them, you can sell this vehicle for 1,500 gold, so overall it is a pretty decent bundle given that you're getting boosters ×5s that are unlocked and 1.5k gold, or a seal clubbing vehicle. Then the Super Conqueror is a great choice for a beginner tier 10 player. Not your first tier 10 should never be a premium, but if you're already played your 60 TP, your E100, your T125, you're doing somewhere around 1,600, 1,700 average damage, and you are looking for something to grind credits at tier 10, and this can be a great option. Obviously, if you're a better player, then that is definitely a worthy pickup, especially also because this is a great bundle that includes ×5s that are unlocked, which is a rarity these days. 30 of them to be exact. 30 ×5 XPs. That is pretty much an entire tier 9 researched through in 20 battles, and then you have 10 to spare to get to the tier 10. So these are amazing for grinding new lines. I've used these massively in World of Tanks PC. With only about 300 of them, I've gotten 15 tier 10s. So they are just as effective in World of Tanks Blitz, though. Over the Battle Hardened, they're good vehicle, but they're somewhat niche vehicles. The Chrysler K8 is extremely good at side scraping, does have excellent side armor that is also flat, not like the VK72, but it has a mid gun with a setup that's basically, you have the turret at the rear, which is great for side scraping, but not really great for anything else. So it's very niche vehicle if you're into that kind of playstyle. Something like it's the tier 8 version of the VK90, essentially. If you want the VK90, you might as well get this thing as well. Plays very similar. Gun's not quite as good. Mobility's fine enough. It's got 10 degrees of gun depression over the sides as well, not the front, obviously, but it's a solid vehicle. Do I recommend mainly picking it up? Definitely not. If you do go for this, I'd probably go for the bundle, because this is a bundle of two very obscure yet competitive vehicles. The other one is the SU-130. Tank destroyer, got no armor whatsoever, can't traverse the turret entirely. The Scorpion G, for example, can, but the Scorpion G obviously has terrible camera rating, so whichever one of the two is cheaper is the one to buy. In this case, the SU-130 PM is very, very decent price right here, 12.5k for both of them. I can recommend it if you're into obscure vehicles, but as main premium tanks, stay away from it. But if you're an obscure tank collector, this can be a good bundle. And lastly, the epitome of Soviet bias, the KV-5, a vehicle that weighs 100 tons yet moves like it weighs 60. Now, obviously at the time when this vehicle was built, the Soviets had in no way access to such an engine, nor do they have access to any quality parts at all, but nonetheless, this is World of Tanks Blitz, and this vehicle having a 1,400 horsepower engine that's just how it is. But yeah, it moves incredibly quickly for how heavy it is. Still not very fast, obviously, because it still weighs 100 tons. 7 degrees of gun depression, 0.32 actually. Not really that great. The gun has enough DPM and alpha damage to compete at tier 8. And the armor, it's noob-proof, essentially. I mean, you can penetrate the radio operator's cupola right here and absolutely destroy his life every single time. But other than that, turret is very well armored. Cupola is obviously a weak spot, but this vehicle is the ultimate noob tube of tier 8, where you can't really go much wrong with it. But here's the problem: 18 euros, it doesn't include 30 days of premium, and it is locked ×5 right here. So not the greatest of bundle. The tank, it works perfectly fine. If you're into super heavies, can be a great pickup, but if you like something that has mobility, it might not be the perfect choice, even though it is fast for how much it weighs. And what is also a great deal is these ×5s. Now, when I say great deal, I mean the ×5s are great, not the price, because they would have loved to see this for 1,000 gold and then this for 2,000. But nonetheless, this is Wargaming. Obscure pricing is now the norm, so not too bad. But with 25 ×5s, you can pretty much get through an entire half a tech tree, essentially, if you play well enough and you have a premium account and you have XP boosters as well. Then you can get pretty much through an entire tech tree in 3 days, which it works. But outside of that, 100 for 8.5k if you need. This is like 3 tech trees that you can grind through in a week, basically, if that's what you're for. Because again, remember, you're spending money on this game to have fun. If you're not having fun, you shouldn't spend money on it to get fun. You should only enhance your fun. Now, the Epic Bundle, is any one of you going to buy this? I wanted to ask a question in the comments down below. Has any one of you ever bought a bundle that is this expensive? I just want to know. And while you're down there, don't forget to like and subscribe as well. I would really appreciate that. But basically, the medium researcher's kit, starter researcher's kit, these are pretty good deals. I can recommend picking up something like this for Christmas. I don't know. But this is a bit too much right here. And now we get to the Cobra Draw. It's not in crates this time, but it is in a draw instead. Now, it is still gambling, obviously, and the entire thing does cost 30,159 gold, which is way too much, but it is a little bit better than all the other crate offers that came before it. But that's still not good, because here's the thing. You have to gamble for gambling. There's crates in this draw, so you gamble to gamble, essentially, which is just... Welcome to gambling addiction, everybody. And also, welcome to this actor that is called Vinnie Jones, to my knowledge. Now, the Cobra is a vehicle that is in here, and is it worth it? Well, no. For 30,000 gold, definitely not. For 15k, for 12k, we can talk about it, and not with gambling crates around it. But obviously, any new vehicle that is released at any point is never going to be worth it, because Wargaming is deliberately putting it behind desperate little gambling paywalls like this one. So once again, even though it is technically a somewhat better deal than the previous crate vehicles, because it's cheaper to get to the tank, you're getting less on the way to the tank, and because you're just getting gambling crates and these, you're gonna end up with like 15 common boosters and nothing else. So 30k gold for that vehicle, that's a joke. Let's have a look at the stats of the Cobra. 2.4k DPM, 235 pen with 400 alpha damage on its heat rounds, and 500 alpha damage with 200 penetration on its HE rounds. So pretty much somewhat of a higher tier Hesh derp gun. It's surprisingly accurate though. It's got 10 degrees of gun depression. Mobility is alright, and the armor is no, basically. I mean, it has a little bit on the turret, but besides that, it's just about very much paper. So definitely don't try to play this thing aggressively, because it can't do that. It's not fast enough. It doesn't have the armor for it. It is essentially a derp gun that can put out 500 damage per shot, though increasing the not so great DPM, because remember, this is, for some reason, this is a medium tank. Even though it has nothing to do with most medium tanks, it still is one. But it can at least put out medium tank DPM if you are firing that HE with 200 penetration, which is a very good amount of penetration for an HE round, and it does work for a majority of tier 8 vehicles. You get them in the side and the rear, some of them even at the front, especially if it's a medium tank. Or AWS 120, that just shows you the side just like that. So overall, is it a trouble vehicle? Well, no, it does have a solid gun. It works quite well. It is obviously only for advanced players that know what they're doing, but the price that it is sold for, it is not better than a Kennedy 1 or no, even near the Object 752. So selling it for that price, we all know it's a bad price. I mean, I don't have to mention this anymore, but the vehicle, it's alright. It can do its job, but stay away from it for now. If it's 10k, sure,